What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video. And yes, it has been a journey for me and the Huawei Mate X-T. I have tried to fight its corner along the way, taking on the biggest YouTubers, but today it is time to give my honest, full review of the Huawei Mate X-T. 5 categories, 25 points up for grabs. Let's go! So for those that are new to the channel, I am the Average Dad and I review every phone I can, put it that way, from the Western and Eastern markets. A lot of the time I'm reviewing Chinese foldable phones, telling you how to set them up properly, and this includes Huawei devices. So if you're here and you're interested in purchasing a Huawei Mate X-T, you may also be interested to know that I have my own tech store that has gone from strength to strength and now ships the most devices in the European and US markets. Now, and if you're also new to the channel, you may not be aware of my review system. Well, I have 5 categories: design, build quality, software, cameras, and price. Every category is scored out of 5 points, with 25 points being available in total. And without further ado, it's probably about time we talked about the design of the Huawei Mate X-T. Now, as I've mentioned in every other review, whether I'm reviewing a candy bar phone, a normal foldable phone, a flip phone, or now this tri-fold or bifold phone, I have to keep the points scoring the same throughout, which means if I am rating the build quality on the Huawei Mate X-T, I'm not comparing it to other bifold devices because none other exist. I have to compare it to what's available in the smartphone market. So for example, your phones with IP69XK ratings, they're 5 out of 5. They're military grade IP ratings, which is why IP68 water and dust resistance phones tend to only get about 4.5 for build quality. Just to keep you in the loop as to why you might be thinking, hold on, he's scored that quite low, or he's maybe scored that quite high. Now in terms of design, it's one of a kind. It's a bifold device with a 6.4 inch outer screen, a 7.9 inch inner screen, and a 10.2 inch inner screen. And of course, every element of this design is immaculate, from the leather back to the ultra thin bezels to the ultra thin design in total. The fact that they have managed to squeeze a 10.2 inch screen into something that is 12.8mm folded with 50 watts wireless charging, a 5600 milliamp hour battery, and subjectively, I love the look of this device in red or black. If you don't know, I have had both. So for me, design is always going to be subjective. Some person's gold is another person's shite. For me though, the Mate X-T, I can't give this anything other than a 5 out of 5 for design. Because of the specs included, because of the thinness, yes, 12.8mm for a 10.2 inch screen folded is super thin. What are we talking about here? It's also 3.6mm at the very edge when it's unfolded. So Huawei design team deserve all the credit in the world. They have shown that it's actually fairly straightforward and practical to have tablet folded up in your pocket. So 5 out of 5 for design. And now we come on to build quality, which, by the way, I mentioned as my example because some may feel that this is scored very low. There is a difference between design and build quality. While holding the X-T in the hand is fantastic and it feels solid, there is no getting away from the fact that one of those edges is all screen. There is no getting away from the fact that Jerry Rig Everything absolutely totaled this phone with very little effort. And that hinge with any form of dust or sand, again, Jerry, well done. You made me cry watching a video almost, but it was ruined. So you ain't taking this to the beach, you ain't taking this to your work if you do construction. You better hope that no dust gets in anywhere or the phone is ruined. And same with water, you ain't taking this to the pool or swimming or anywhere near a swimming pool or the bath or a sink. There is no official IP rating on this phone for fairly obvious reasons. And because they've kept the device so thin and because it's an OLED panel that has zero protection on one side, it's a risk. And I've mentioned this to a couple of people that have asked questions about buying the phone through the store. You have to be aware of the risk. If you're going to use this as your daily driver, that's fine. Please use the case that's included in the box. If you work construction or on a site or wherever, I would buy a second super cheap phone to use for that and keep the XT as your almost daily driver. Now, while the build quality for a bifolding phone is actually really good, I'm comparing this to every other smartphone. Whether that's right or wrong in your opinion, that's how I do it. And build quality, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. Because a lot of the benefits and attributes actually fall under the design category, like the bezels and the look of it. But in practical, everyday use, you're going to be shitting your pants most of the time if you take it out of the house. And I'm just being honest. I actually had one person return their phone because they were honest and they just said, look, I'm actually scared to take it out of the house. And I fully agree with them, and they got their refund. So now we come on to a round that is also quite divisive, particularly on Huawei devices. While Chinese ROM devices such as Vivo, Honor, Xiaomi, Oppo all come with Google native. You just have to toggle all in the settings, you can download the Play Store from the native App Store, and you've got full Google services. With Vivo's, some of their devices, and Honor, their devices come with Android Auto, so you're really lacking nothing compared to a global ROM device. However, with a Huawei, it's completely different. I have made this micro G setup video. Shout out to Mr. Fatherboard. I used his clips in that video, and I believe his channel's grown like 150 subs since I gave him a shout out, which I'm super proud of. Always happy to help other YouTube tech reviewers. But where was I? Yes, the software experience. You have to download micro G or use Gbox or Gspace, and then even then you're never getting Android Auto, you're not pairing your smartwatch, you're not getting Google location tracking, but you are getting most of the apps in the Google Play Store working fine, including banking apps. But no matter what, you are still doing a workaround. So let's say you've done that workaround, you've got all the apps. What is the actual software experience like? Well, pretty damn good. Multitasking is fairly standard. You can have 2 apps split screen. That's no matter which screen. You can have 2 apps split screen on the main, unfolded once or unfolded twice. You can have 2 floating apps as well, so a total of 4 apps. Where I feel Huawei dropped the ball a bit was not having a split screen. So 3 apps side by side when the phone is fully open would have been ideal. I'm not too fussed for more floating windows, 2 is fine, but to be able to use 3 apps side by side, so essentially 6.5 inch diagonals side by side, that would have been pretty goddamn good. And there is stylus support on this device, but harking back to what I said about build quality, I would be scared to use a Huawei pen or any stylus pen on this ultra thin, fragile display. And that's just my honest opinion. I would be scared to use a stylus, which is why I've owned the phone twice and I've never used a stylus. Now, Harmony OS software is absolutely fine. for the Chinese market. There are a million different features, the portal and the quick share and all the other good stuff you can do in China. In the Western market, you're just kind of limited to it being a normal software experience. Yes, you can change the wallpapers and icons and themes with a Huawei account, which you can set up online. But there just always seems to be an extra step to take when it comes to the Huawei. And that's not their fault. That's politics, folks, and I'm not getting into that. So ultimately, what you care about is the rating. Software-wise, the best for me is still One UI, followed closely by Vivo's Origin OS. It then probably goes to like Color OS and Oxygen OS. Magic OS from Honor is probably a 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it a 2 again. I'm sorry, Huawei lovers. I am a Huawei lover too. But I will always be honest. This is a 2 out of 5 software experience. And in most part, it ain't Huawei's fault. So far, Huawei have scored 9 out of 15 points going into the penultimate round, which is the cameras. And this is again a fairly mixed bag. The Huawei Mate X3, the Huawei Mate X5 have some of the best cameras on any foldable device. As does the Huawei Mate XT. Not as good as the X5 or X3, but pretty damn close. The main lens, 50 megapixel, looks great, good colours, good for video, 4K, 60 frames per second. Then you've got the telephoto, 5 times optical, but it's 10 megapixels. And you can kind of tell it's missing some megapixels. I wouldn't be comfortable zooming max with this phone like I would on the Huawei Mate X5, but photos are respectable. Video's stable, colours seem fine to me. Comparing this to the best camera system on a foldable phone, which is from Vivo and the X Fold 3 Pro, it lags behind. Then when you add in the Oppo X7 Ultra, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Vivo X100 Ultra, in terms of smartphone photography, the Huawei just seems to keep falling further and further back. But if you're buying the Huawei Mate XT as a tablet, which some people will be, this is the best cameras on any tablet ever. If I was comparing this camera system to my S10 Ultra or my iPad Pro, it would piss all over it. But this is a smartphone review and it's based on smartphone rankings. So again, really sorry Huawei, it's a 2 out of 5. I'd like you to pop a comment down below if you are shocked or surprised by my review. A lot of people have this preconception that A, I want to big this phone up because I want to sell units, and B, I want to big up Chinese ROMs because I hate Google, Samsung and Apple. That could not be further from the truth. I just want to be honest. And yes, I sell this device on the store. And yes, I think it's a really fantastic, innovative device. But in the categories that I'm scoring it on, it doesn't really hold a candle, other than design, to much else. And then going into the final round, believe it or not, this is going to be its worst round. It's going to get 1 point, spoiler. Price. The price is way too high, but that is the price we have to pay for importing a device that is sold out. So there's two things working here. Huawei made roughly 200,000 units to this point, and they've had roughly 6 million pre-orders. So they are way behind. So what my suppliers have been doing is literally, once they've ran out of their own allocation that they managed to get, they've been going to customers and buying theirs off them for a premium. They then have to ship to you through me, so there's premiums there and there. And by the time everybody's got their little 10 cents worth, the phone ends up at around £5,000. Now, I did mention to stay tuned, and I'll tell you why. For today and tomorrow, to celebrate the release of the Mate XT, I am taking £500 off every single unit. Yes, half terabyte or terabyte, £500 off for the next 48 hours. So yes, price wise, for those that don't know, it's $2,800 roughly if you were to be able to be one of the first 100,000 that got their device in China. But you can't get it for that. You have to import it from Average Dad Tech Store, Wanda Mobile, Gizstop, Trade in Shenzhen, other import companies, but you have to pay, I believe I'm still the cheapest, especially with the £500 off I've just taken, £4,000 plus. And that's just too high. While it is one of the most innovative phones in history, and I hope it opens the floodgates for Samsung and Honor and maybe Vivo, doubtful, but probably Oppo, to create their own bifold device and ultimately make it cheaper. So price, 1 out of 5, which, if my maths is correct, gives the Huawei Mate XT the lowest score in Average Dad review history, with a whopping 12 out of 25 points. Now, a few things I didn't touch on during the categories. The display, I was going to say the displays, there's only one. The display itself in any orientation is bright, clear, sharp. It's fantastic. The speakers are really, really good, in my opinion. Now, I always use Bluetooth headphones, but I did find that on a train journey, just using the native built-in speakers, they sounded pretty good. There was a decent amount of bass considering how thin the phone is. I also want to touch on the battery life. One of the biggest drawbacks of having a 10-inch screen with a 90Hz OLED panel is going to be the battery when you can only get 5,600 milliamp hours. I expected to get 3 or 4 hours and that would be the phone dead. But I was wrong. A train journey to and from Tampere from Helsinki took about 2.5-3 hours in total. Of that journey, I probably watched about an hour to an hour and a half of YouTube content. And the phone drained like 15%, 20% maybe. That's damn impressive. And in terms of charging speed, 67 watts is some of the fastest in a foldable device. 5600 milliamp hour battery is the largest on a foldable device, or second largest after the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro actually. And 50 watts wireless charging on deck. Fantastic. And I mentioned it's got stylus support, obviously on all 3 orientations because it's one screen. It packs a lot in. It's a first gen product. I'm excited for the future of bifold devices. I firmly believe that will be the future, and people will laugh at that just like they say that foldable phones in general are a gimmick. You couldn't be more wrong. So, I know you have your comments and opinions. Leave them down below. What do you think? Was I too harsh on Huawei? And as I mentioned, if you are in the market for a Mate XT, there is £500 off every single Mate XT in the Average Dad Tech Store. Link is in description. But that's only for the next 48 hours. So if you're interested in one, go ahead and buy. 14-day return period, but there is a restocking fee if you open the device and change your mind, and there's a 1-year warranty on all brand new phones from the tech store. I'll be back soon with my Vivo video, the Vivo X100 Ultra versus the X200 Pro versus the X200 Pro Mini. Vivo just, absolutely killing 2024. So if that sounds good to you, smash subscribe. If you've liked this review and found it extremely, sometimes brutally honest, please smash like. And until next time,